because today we're going to use math to turn these into art. This is What's up, webheads? Now, if you've been around the channel for a while, you'll know that I am a math guy. I teach math at a high school, and so anytime that I can incorporate math into my life, I do it. Now, what most people may not know is that I'm also an art guy. See, I don't just like math just for the numbers. I want to be able to do something with it. And one of the most interesting things that I've found are mathematical illusions, using math and art to create illusions that trick your brain into thinking you're seeing one thing when actually you're seeing something else. Now, one thing I will tell you is that this project will require you to use a razor to cut paper. So if you are under the age of 18 and can't make your own decisions, or generally if you're a male, find a female and ask them if they think it's a good idea for you to do this. I was cleared to do this project by my wife, so we're ready to go. Follow along with these tips and you'll make something really, really cool. Alright, so for this project, you're going to need a few things. First and foremost is a cutting mat, or a cutting board. This is very important because the last thing you'd want to do is cut up the table that you're working on. Second, you're going to need at least 2 colors of paper. I had the idea to do this project with playing cards, but you could easily do this with construction paper. These 2 decks came as a set, and it's a good thing that I had all of them because it took me a few tries to figure out how to put this thing together. You're also going to need a razor, a ruler, this is my special ruler compass combo, and a pen or fine tip marker. Remember, as mentioned before, if you're under 18, please make sure you have parent supervision if you're trying this at home. Oh, last but not least, for the setup, you're going to need a plan. This will serve as your template for starting your creation. If this is your first time doing this project, keep it simple. I started with just a square and I was really pleased with what I got at the end. I made this square on my computer so that it was exact, printed it, realized it was too big, scaled down the print, and had my template set. Now, before we get to marking, drawing, and cutting, there's something very important to point out. The colored side of the cards is the part that we're going to show to the world. So you need to do all of your work on the other side, the face side of these cards. We're going to end up gluing these together, so it really doesn't matter what we do to these other sides, as long as nothing's going to bleed through your paper. Center your template on the card and mark the corners. I used a thumbtack here just to mark where the corners were and to give myself a start for the cuts later. I connected my marks with a pen and cut the square out of the card. If you're playing along at home, congratulations, you've finished one layer of the project. Your next layer should use the other color, in my case, a blue card. And what comes next is, I feel, the hardest part of this whole thing. Making sure these 2 cards stay lined up together. I'm sure it's a lot harder because I was using playing cards that have some kind of coating on them to help them resist water if you spill things on them while you're playing poker, but man, there is nothing more nerve-wracking than trying to not cut off your appendages while your project keeps sliding around on the table. After a little bit of trial and error and a few times through this project, I can tell you, my suggestion is to use small binder clips, if you have them, and put one on each corner. Now we're going to start to build the illusion. You should be able to see your second card through the square in the first one. That's not the illusion, don't worry. My square here is 6 centimeters on each side. So I made a mark 6 millimeters along each side, moving counterclockwise around the existing square. You could go clockwise if you want to, it should still work, or at least look pretty cool. You can also do the same thing with more than 6 millimeters. I just used it because it was 10% of my original side length. Just make sure that whatever you do for one side, you do for all sides. So when you connect these points, you're going to have a smaller square. It's just been rotated a bit, and that's exactly what you want. Detach the 2 cards from one another, and cut out your new square. When you flip these cards over and reverse the order, you should see little bits of the blue card showing underneath of the red card. Pick out a fresh new card, and using the blue card as your template, you're going to repeat this process again. Mark 6 millimeters, or whatever distance you're using, connect the points, cut out the pattern, switch colors again. And again, and again, and again. As many times as you'd like. 9 cards worked perfectly for me. You may want more, or you might only have the patience for a few more. Once you're done, Flip them over and arrange this stack from biggest hole to smallest. You should get a pattern just like this. Your brain is probably trying to tell you that there are spiraling colors here, but we know that this pattern came from squares that are all made out of straight lines. Glue these bad boys together and hang it on the fridge. Webheads, you just made art. So yeah, there you go. This is actually a really fun afternoon project. Again, because you have to use the knife, don't try to do this if you're underage or if you've never used one of these blades before. They are very sharp, and they will send you to the hospital. The really cool thing about this is just one example of the many different patterns that you can get out of this type of technique. My inspiration for doing this came from a guy who's actually submitting this type of art to the Bridges Math Conference. It is a math conference that brings together mathematical artists from around the world, and he's using laser cut paper in this same exact style. Mine was hand cut, so there's a little bit more of an error pattern than what he was dealing with. But the cool thing is, when we go back to school in the fall, Maggie Walker will have a brand new laser cutter. So I'm going to try some of this again when we get back to school, or if we get the laser cutter installed early, I'm going to try to get access to it so that I can make some more of these, because some of the patterns that you can get are really, really, really interesting. So I would encourage you to take a look at the Bridges Math Conference, and I also would encourage you to try some of this out yourself. It's really fun and pretty easy to do. Thanks for watching. If you like what you saw, hit subscribe. We're going to do things like this all throughout the summer. You can find us on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter. If you are already a subscriber, thanks for all your support. You're the reason that I keep making these videos, and if it wasn't for you guys, I probably would have stopped doing this a long time ago. So thanks for everything that you do. Hope you're having a great day. And for now, that's what's up.